Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about Dominick Cruz, the drastic fall of Dominick Cruz. So Dominick Cruz started out his career in a very, very promising way, even before he got to the UFC. Before he got to the UFC, even he was 6-0. So very promising. A lot of finishes. One decision, one submission, and 4 finishes by TKO or KO. Most notably at that time was the head kick KO of Jordan Powell, and it is on YouTube if you watch it. That the guy kind of shakes his head after Dominick Reyes throws a combination with his hands. He shakes his head after that combination, and Dominick Reyes Cruz throws a head kick and flatlines him, face plants him. That guy at that time was probably his most experienced guy at 8-6. That guy right now is 12-10, I believe. Not very good, but at the time was good. Then he makes his UFC debut of 2017, June 25th. Fights Joaquin Christensen, and definitely his most experienced guy at 14-5. Stylistically, a very, very good matchup for Reyes, even at that time. Older guy, submission guy, not really a puncher, more of a grappler type guy. And he flatlines him 29 seconds in round number 1. Again, very impressive, very quick, so you don't really understand the work. Next fight, he fights Jeremy Kimball, who is 15-6. Okay, I like what you're doing, UFC. Moving them along slowly but surely. I like this. And that we knew was going to be a scrap because Kimball wasn't going to back down. And I don't know necessarily if that stayed true, but Dominick Reyes really could choke him in the first round. Kind of has his way with him, does really whatever he wants. And he gets the second career win by submission. Rear naked choke. And then next he fights Jared Cannonier. And we all know Jared Cannonier. Of course, this is a different weight class for Jared Cannonier. This is 205. And he loses under 3 minutes in the first round. Jared Cannonier did not look good in this. Whether you think it was a early stoppage or whatever, he got beat up. He got punched a lot. He got dropped. He just came back quickly because Dominick Reyes wasn't still punching him. So then he fights OSP. In the OSP fight, you're like, okay, well, we're gonna get a lot of answers from Reyes. How does he do with somebody who waits on him? How does he do with somebody who has a lot of experience? Even at that time, he was 23-11. Now, OSP has drastically dropped off since this fight, but still a huge test at that time. So then, Reyes and OSP fight in October 6th of 2018. And decisions him, but if you watch the fight, wasn't ever close. There was a couple seconds there in the final round, the final bell, where Dominick Reyes hits him, I believe, with a left straight, I believe it was, right at the end. And if there's 2 seconds left, OSP is finished. Like, he's donezo. He's done. Surprisingly, the referee didn't wave it off, honestly. I understand the bell rang, but it was as close as you could be. So you're like, okay, this guy's making some noise in this division. This Dominick Reyes guy is doing some good stuff. And I something I really liked of him in that fight is his composure and his willingness to not rush himself. Because you rush yourself against a guy like OSP, you have a potential of getting countered. Maybe not so more anymore, but back then for sure. So then Chris Weidman moves up. He's been talking about it for a long time. A lot of people get excited. And in October 18th of 2019, or no, never mind, March 16th of 2019, he fights Ozdemir. Don't think he won Ozdemir. He did not really look that good in the Ozdemir fight, but we hadn't really seen that from him before. So it was like, all right, bad fight. Didn't think he won. How does he come back, and how does he fight Chris Weidman? Chris Weidman teases, like I said, he teases the move up and all these things for years and says he can do it. And he does it October 18th, 2019, and gets destroyed. Chris Weidman looks terrible. Now, little did we know that was some facts of what was to come in his future of fighting. Not great. So then, 2020, February 8th of 2020, is the day that Dominick Reyes fights Jon Jones. Now, whether you believe Dominick Reyes won, there's one thing that we can 100% agree on. Dominick Reyes looked incredible. To me, I watched the fight. I watched it while I was live with people in the chat. And the first 2 rounds are not even a question for Dominick Reyes. I thought 4 and 5 was for absolutely Jon Jones. 3 is where that round goes anywhere. Because it looked like the first minute and a half was Reyes. And then Jon Jones gets in his face and does what Jon Jones does. So again, whether you feel like Reyes won, whether you feel like he lost, any of those things, it was a life-changing performance. Not only for his career, not only for his record, but people always remember the performance of Dominick Reyes in that fight because it was truly unbelievable. Whether you feel like Jon Jones was motivated for that, whether you feel like Jon Jones did have the right game plan for that, because that's debatable for sure. Dominick Reyes still performed well. Dominick Reyes did what he needed to do. That fight was very close and much closer than it should have been. Because on paper, though, that's somebody that Jon Jones destroys if he fights him the way he should have fought him. Like, yeah. You know what I mean. So then he comes back 7 months later. 7 months, 18 days later. With the rub. Because he just fought the greatest fighter in all of MMA. Everything. Fights Jan, and then he comes back and fights Jan Blachowicz. And I called that one. That the way that Dominick Reyes fights, of kind of blitzing forward and then throwing combinations, is really bad to do. Because every time you blitz and you throw, he stands there. He doesn't move. He doesn't cut the angle. He stands there. And then backs up, resets, goes again. So what does Jan do? He waits for that. He counters him. He beats him up. A couple body shots. His body was beat up. And then hurts him. Gets him out of there. I think he breaks his nose in the first round. Either way. Finishes Dominick Reyes in the second round. Only 7 months later. So then he's supposed to fight Yuri Prochazka in 2021, February 27th. Fight is canceled. It's rescheduled for a little over a month. Fights Yuri, and Dominick Reyes looks like, okay, seems to figure that groove out again. Seems to be looking really, really good. Is getting hit a lot, more than he used to, but he's hurting Yuri. Now, the way that Yuri fights, that's not really surprising because you charge somebody and you get hit, you're going to get hurt a lot more than you would just taking that punch regularly because of all the impact of you running forward. And again, he looks good. He hurts Yuri a multitude of times. I think he said he put Yuri out one time with the up kick I think the up kick. But either way, Yuri gets him against the cage. Dominick Reyes waits. Tough fight, of course. And Yuri KOs him with a spinning elbow. He's like, God, that's 3 losses and 2 finishes in a row, and they are bad ones. So then it's announced that he's fighting Ryan Spann, and something that worried me a lot with that fight was because Ryan Spann, typically when he's on, when he actually wants to fight well, he's quick, he's very powerful, and he's very patient when it comes to submissions. And he will snatch it up. Typically, though, when he snatches it up, he has it. So, fighting Spann with Dominic Reyes still fighting how he used to, which is blitz forward, all of those things. Bad matchup for Dominic Reyes because he hasn't changed that style. He went right at him. And they both started trading, and then Ryan Spann hurts him once, at least stings him, touches him up, and then basically Ryan Spann KOs Dominic Reyes with it's like a modified jab. It's almost like a cross, or not a cross, a hook, but it's no telegraph, just jab, as Dominic Reyes is trying to close that distance. So that is 4 losses in a row, 3 by TKO or KO. Actually, all KO. No, the TKO was against Jan, but 2 back-to-back KOs. Now, he has taken a lot of time, but he's also 33 years old. He's 6-4 now. Started out 6-0 in the UFC. Now he's lost 4 in a row. Where does Dominic Reyes go? Does Dominic Reyes try to cut a little bit of weight and go down? Does Dominic Reyes get a lesser-known opponent? That's fair. Does Dominic Reyes fight somebody like Ozdemir again? Does Dominic Reyes fight Nikita Krylov? There is still some matchups out there for Dominic Reyes. And let's be honest, with that light heavyweight division, it only takes 2 to 3 wins. And we're talking about Dominic Reyes going for that title shot, going for that title again. Something I hope we all understand is the ups and the downs of this UFC career. I mean, I don't think Dominic Reyes could have ever predicted in a span of 2017 to 2019, 2 months, or 2 years, 2 years, less than 2 years. It's like 2 years and 3 months, 3.5 months. He's fighting Jon Jones, and he's finished 1, 2, 3, 4 out of his 6 wins are finishes. Granted, I didn't think he beat Ozdemir. I think a lot of people thought he lost that fight. Didn't look great in it, but at the time that was Ozdemir. That was no time, or what the fuck ever his nickname was. Before he fought DC, and he's been a shell of himself. Again, it's one of those things. It happens to a lot of guys that fight Jon. Records aren't great. Anthony Smith has been pretty decently successful afterwards. Not great. Probably the most successful person who has fought him has been Glover. But everybody else has had losing records, has been, all these things. And where do you think he goes? You guys let me know. Because, again, he could fight Ozdemir again. He could fight Nikita Krylov. He could fight Devin Clark, I think, could be a good one. A slower matchup. A guy who doesn't really have any power and anything really like that. He's boring as fuck. Anyways, tangent on Devin Clark, how bad he is. Again, this is not to diss Dominic Reyes. This is not to gloat in him being KO'd 3 times. This is just showing you guys and talking about the ups and downs, like I said, of a UFC career. Because like I said, in a span of little over 2 years, 2.5 years, he's fighting for the title. Since 2020, so in 2 years, he's lost 4 fights, and 3 of them are by finish. It's crazy. Somebody who reminds me of that a little bit is the Dan Hardy. Went 4-0 and then dropped his next 4. Granted, he did fight for the title. Actually, he fought GSP, so that does kind of go there. Just, they weren't finishes. He was only finished ever in his career by Carlos Condit. Yes. But yes, as always, guys, thank you so much for all of your support. We're coming up on 1,000. Subscribe, like, comment to the channel. Let me know what you think of this video. I'd like to talk to you guys about it. As always, stay tuned for what is to come, and you guys know what it is. Peace.